There comes a moment when you realize that it's not just about making more money, it's about living better. It's not just about numbers, but about peace, autonomy, and the feeling that your life is in your hands. A rich life doesn't come ready-made, and it definitely doesn't start with big inheritances or luck. It starts when you decide to leave survival mode and step into builder mode. Building a rich life from scratch in 60 days isn't about overnight miracles. It's about conscious decisions made every single day. It's about stopping the constant firefighting and starting to design the future. It's about understanding that wealth isn't just what you have, but what you control, your time, your energy, your choices. When those pillars align, money stops being a constant problem and becomes a natural consequence. Maybe today you're feeling tired, unsure, or like you're falling behind. But the truth is simple. No one's behind when they decide to truly begin. 60 days is enough to shift your mindset, reorganize your routine, and lay a solid foundation for a prosperous life, as long as you do it the right way. If you want to learn how to build a rich life from scratch, leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and stick with me. The next steps might completely redefine the direction of your life. Step 1. Stop surviving and start building with intention. A rich life doesn't begin when you have extra money. It begins when you stop living just to put out fires. Survival mode is waking up every day to handle emergencies, paying bills at the last minute, reacting to problems, and always pushing the future aside. Building is different. Building requires intention, clarity, and conscious choice. I spent a long time in survival mode. I worked, got paid, spent, stressed out, and repeated it all again the next month. No matter how hard I tried, it felt like I was always stuck in the same place, until I realized something simple, but hard to accept. As long as I was only reacting to life, I'd never have control over it. The shift began when I asked a different question. What am I building with the choices I make today? That question changed everything. I started seeing my days as building blocks. Every habit, every expense, every decision was a brick, either for the life I wanted or the life I feared. A woman building a rich life thinks mid and long term, even when the present feels tight. She learns to say not now so she can say yes later. She understands that wealth isn't just about having, it's about sustaining. Sustaining choices, standards, and boundaries. If you want to build a rich life from scratch in 60 days, you need to get out of autopilot and into intentional mode. Stop living just to get through today. Start shaping tomorrow. Comment, I choose to build, not just survive. That phrase marks the beginning of your new stance toward life and money. Step 2. Organize your mind before trying to organize your money. No rich life stands on top of a cluttered mind. Before you think about earning more, investing, or multiplying your income, you need to bring order to the thoughts that drive your decisions. Because money always follows clarity and runs from chaos. Many women try to change their financial lives without realizing they're emotionally overloaded, full of fear, guilt, and insecurity. And that internal mess shows up directly in the bank account. I noticed this when I started observing my own patterns. Whenever I was anxious, I made bad decisions. I spent to ease emotions, postponed important choices out of fear, and avoided looking at numbers because they reminded me of frustration. It wasn't a lack of ability. It was too much mental noise. So before changing anything outside, I decided to clean up inside. I started small, writing down everything that worried me, organizing priorities, separating what I could control from what I couldn't. I began carving out quiet moments to think clearly, instead of just reacting to life. And something interesting happened. When my mind got more organized, my financial decisions did too. Money started lasting longer. Opportunities became more visible. A woman building a rich life learns to protect her mind. She doesn't live in constant emotional urgency, because she knows that decisions made in panic are expensive. Mental clarity is invisible wealth, but incredibly powerful. If you want to build a rich life in 60 days, you first need to build inner order. Comment, my mind is clear and focused. This phrase anchors the mental state that sustains long-term prosperity. Step 3. Stop repeating the patterns that keep you stuck. You can't build a rich life by doing more of the same. If your results haven't changed, it's because your patterns haven't either. Many women say they want to thrive, but keep making the same decisions, surrounding themselves with the same influences, and reacting the same way to the same situations. The problem isn't a lack of effort, it's unconscious repetition. I only realized this when I looked back and noticed how similar my years had been. The months changed, the projects changed, even the people changed, but the feeling was always the same: instability. It was painful to admit that I was part of the pattern keeping me stuck. I delayed hard decisions, settled for less than I deserved, and constantly prioritized short-term comfort over long-term growth. Change began when I started identifying my cycles. I noticed how I spent money when I felt anxious, how I avoided important conversations out of fear of conflict, and how I let opportunities slip by because I didn't feel ready. These behaviors seemed small, but together they built an invisible ceiling over my life. A woman who builds a rich life learns to break cycles, even when it's uncomfortable. She understands that growth requires letting go of old versions of herself. Repeating familiar patterns might feel safe, but it's very expensive in the long run. If you want to build a rich life from scratch in 60 days, you need the courage to do things differently, even when different feels scary. That's where your level shifts. Changing how you see yourself is the first step, but changing how you relate to money is what transforms everything. Many women live trapped in a silent cycle. They work, they push, but money still never seems to be enough. And this doesn't happen because they lack ability. It's because they're still carrying a mindset that links prosperity to guilt, fear, or sacrifice. The truth is, wealth begins when you realize that money doesn't define who you are. It only amplifies what's already inside you. And that's exactly why I created the Wealth Code. This guide was made for women who are ready to break patterns, heal their relationship with money, and finally achieve financial security with ease. Inside, you'll learn how to align energy and strategy, activate the feminine power of prosperity, and build a life where money flows, without guilt, fear, or depending on anyone. If you want to transform your life and live in freedom, click the link in the first pinned comment. Step 4. Redefine what a rich life means to you. A lot of people want a rich life, but few stop to define what that actually means. And that's a silent mistake. When you don't have clarity about the destination, any path seems right, and almost always leads to the wrong place. A rich life isn't one size fits all. For some, it means time freedom. For others, security. For others, emotional peace. Without that definition, you end up chasing goals that don't fulfill you. I realized this when I reached things I thought would make me happy, and they didn't. I was achieving, but I didn't feel rich. That's when I understood. I was living someone else's dream, not mine. So I stopped everything and asked myself with brutal honesty, what does wealth mean to me? That answer changed my decisions. I started prioritizing peace, autonomy, and intentional choices. And when I aligned my actions with that, everything started to make sense. A woman who builds a rich life doesn't chase status. She builds alignment. She chooses a lifestyle she can sustain, not just one she can show off. And that clarity saves energy, time, and money. When you define what wealth means to you, it becomes easier to say no to what doesn't match, and yes to what builds. If you want to build a rich life in 60 days, you need to stop copying someone else's model and start honoring your own definition of success. Comment, "My rich life reflects who I am." This phrase anchors your commitment to living a version of prosperity that's true to you. Step 5. Organize your finances so you can stop living on the fly. A rich life can't be built on improvisation. As long as you're handling everything last minute, money will never feel safe enough to stay. Improvising might look like flexibility, but in reality, it's a lack of direction. And money needs direction to remain. I spent a long time believing that figuring it out was a virtue. I paid bills however I could, saved only when there was something left, and spent to ease the pressure. In the short term, it kind of worked. In the long run, it was exhausting. I was always on edge, constantly feeling like something could go wrong at any moment.
And that's not a rich life. It's survival in disguise.
The shift started when I decided to build structure. Nothing complicated, just something clear. I began to know exactly how much came in, how much went out, and how much stayed with me. I created categories, limits, and simple goals. For the first time, I wasn't relying on luck or the next paycheck just to breathe. I had control. And control is one of the most powerful forms of wealth. A woman who builds a rich life understands that financial organization isn't rigidity, it's freedom. When you know where you are, you can decide where you're going. When you have clarity, fear decreases. And when fear decreases, you start making better choices. If you want to build a rich life from scratch in 60 days, you need to stop improvising with your money and start leading it. It's not about earning a lot. It's about managing what you already have wisely. Comment, "I lead my money with clarity." This phrase affirms that you've left chaos behind and stepped into control of your financial life. Step 6. Learn to say no to protect the future you're building. Building a rich life requires something most people avoid: boundaries. Not just boundaries with others, but with yourself. Every yes you say out of guilt, fear, or the need to please costs you time, energy, and money. And little by little, those small yeses start to dismantle the structure you're trying to build. I learned this the hard way. As my life began to get more organized, the requests, demands, and expectations started showing up. People asking for financial help, constant favors, time I didn't have. At first, I said yes to everything, afraid of seeming selfish or ungrateful. But by the end of the month, I was the one feeling overwhelmed, anxious, and stuck. That's when I understood. Every time I said yes to what didn't align, I was saying no to the rich life I claimed I wanted. The shift happened when I started choosing more consciously. Not every request deserves access to your energy. Not every urgency from others is your priority. A woman who builds a rich life knows that protecting her boundaries isn't coldness. It's responsibility for her future. Saying no today is often saying yes to the safety, peace, and freedom you want to live with tomorrow. And that completely changes your posture. The world starts respecting you when you respect yourself first. If you want to build a rich life from scratch in 60 days, you need to learn to protect what you're creating, even when it feels uncomfortable. Comment, my boundaries build my wealth. This phrase reinforces your decision to stop sabotaging yourself while trying to grow. Step 7. Turn your time into an asset, not something that slips through your fingers. A rich life isn't built with money alone. It's built with well-used time. Many women live tired not because they do too much, but because they do things without direction. They spend hours handling what doesn't matter, reacting to things they didn't choose, and postponing what could actually change their lives. And unlike money, time doesn't come back. I realized this when I noticed my days always ended with the feeling that I had done a lot, but moved forward very little. I was busy, not productive. My time was being eaten up by distractions, other people's urgencies, and decisions that didn't contribute at all to the life I said I wanted. That's when I decided to do something simple, but uncomfortable. Audit my time. I wrote down where every hour was going. The result was a wake-up call. From then on, I started treating my time like a precious resource. I created focus blocks, eliminated activities that didn't bring emotional or financial return, and learned to protect my schedule like I protect my money. Within a few weeks, my productivity went up, my exhaustion went down, and my clarity skyrocketed. I didn't have more time. I had more intention. A woman who builds a rich life understands that every hour invested with intention pays dividends in the future. Well-used time becomes peace, growth, and freedom. If you want to build a rich life from scratch in 60 days, you need to stop wasting your most valuable resource trying to please, react, or just get through the day. Comment, my time builds my wealth. This phrase seals your decision to live days that truly move you forward. Step 8. Learn to sustain growth without self-sabotage. Reaching a new level is challenging. Staying there is even harder. Many women manage to grow for a while. They earn more, get more organized, make progress, but then they sabotage themselves. They spend everything at once, drop good habits, loosen their boundaries, and fall back into old patterns. Not because they're not capable, but because they haven't learned how to sustain growth. I noticed this when my finances started improving, and instead of feeling safe, I got anxious. It was like a part of me believed it wouldn't last. So I spent quickly, got distracted, lost focus, almost like I was trying to return to familiar territory. That's when I realized, growth isn't just about gaining more. It's about expanding your emotional capacity to hold on to what's new. Sustaining growth requires maturity. It means staying organized even when you have extra. It means keeping boundaries even when things are good. It takes emotional discipline to not mistake momentary relief for real freedom. A woman building a rich life learns to stay grounded when everything starts going right, because that's exactly when many fall back. If you want to build a rich life from scratch in 60 days, you need to stop sabotaging your progress just because it feels unfamiliar. Growth isn't a threat. It's proof you're on the right track. Comment, I sustain the growth I achieve. This phrase reinforces your ability to stay at the new level without fear. Step 9. Stop waiting for permission to live better. One of the biggest traps that blocks the path to a rich life is silently waiting for permission. Permission to earn more, to change your life, to say no, to choose differently than what others expect of you. Many women stay stuck not because they lack ability, but because they're afraid of disappointing others, looking selfish, or stepping out of the role they've always played. I saw this in my own life when I realized many of my biggest decisions weren't being delayed because of money, but because I was overly concerned with what people might think. I wanted to grow but feared judgment. I wanted to change but felt guilty. And that invisible waiting came at a high cost: time, energy, and missed opportunities. Everything changed when I understood one simple, freeing truth. No one is going to give you permission to live better. That permission doesn't come from outside. It's born the moment you take full responsibility for your life. A woman who builds a rich life knows that pleasing everyone is incompatible with thriving. Choosing yourself isn't selfish, it's maturity. When you stop asking for permission, your whole posture changes. Your choices become firmer. Your energy becomes clearer. And the world responds differently to someone who knows what she wants and doesn't apologize for it. If you want to build a rich life from scratch in 60 days, you need to stop postponing your dreams waiting for approval. Time won't wait. Life won't either. Comment: I give myself permission to live better. This phrase marks the moment you take the lead role in your own story. Step 10. Decide that your rich life starts now, not when everything's perfect. The biggest mistake people make when it comes to building a rich life is believing it starts later. After they earn more, after they pay everything off, after they have time, after they feel ready. But the truth is simple and uncomfortable. Your rich life begins the moment you start acting like someone who deserves to live well, even without all the guarantees. I learned this when I realized I was always waiting for the perfect setup. Less fear, fewer doubts, more certainty. But that day never came. That's when I understood that confidence doesn't come before action. It's built through action. When I decided to live with more intention, more responsibility, and more respect for myself, even while still building, everything began to shift. I started making better choices, spending better, showing up better. Not because I had it all figured out, but because I stopped postponing the life I wanted. And that decision created the solid foundation I had been searching for. A woman who builds a rich life understands that there is no perfect moment, only a daily commitment. Wealth isn't some distant destination. It's a posture. It's how you live today, care for what you have today, and decide who you are becoming today. If you want to build a rich life from scratch in 60 days, stop waiting for ideal conditions and start creating real ones. Time will pass either way. The difference is who you choose to be while it does. Comment: I'm starting now. This phrase seals the decision that changes everything. Building a rich life from scratch isn't about a lucky break. It's about a series of conscious choices. Leaving survival mode, organizing your mind, breaking patterns, redefining wealth, structuring your finances, setting boundaries, protecting your time, sustaining your growth, stopping the wait for permission, and deciding to start now. These 10 steps lay the foundation for a life with more freedom, stability, and peace. In 60 days, you may not have everything figured out, but you can have something even more valuable: clarity, control, and direction. And when that happens, money stops being a constant problem and becomes a natural result of the woman you've become. If this video resonated with you, leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and write in the comments, "I'm building my rich life," because true wealth begins when you stop delaying your life and finally take the lead.